Today is going to be a little bit of a winter treat. We are going to pre-winter this vehicle. He needs to have the antifreeze changed out. There's a little bit of other things that he's concerned about. The electrical box has a couple of issues, map sensor rewire, little power steering leak, couple small things. As you can see, it's a supercharged Corvette. This thing makes some pretty good power. So let's get started and get this thing accomplished here, get everything done. See how long this is? They don't make this sensor anymore, so we have to make one that has, or we have to get a short one like the other one I just put in, and it has an extension that we had to get for the replacement. Here is the replacement. You can see it's a lot shorter here. It's the same sensor as the other side, only in order to reach where it needs to go, we had to put this extension on in order to get it there. So yeah, let's get this thing thrown in. Because of the way this is oriented, I'm going to add a couple of these nice little clamps instead of using zip ties, and it'll actually hold it better than it was before. Okay, you see where that is? I got the loop there. It's going to that little body bolt. Then the other one there going to the body bolt. If you look right here, you can see this wire here. That's the other part of it. Now I have to pull this up and tie it up so it doesn't rub against the header. Now whenever I'm at risk of having something rub against the header like a wiring harness, instead of using just a single zip tie, I always use two in case one of them fails. Zip ties are cheap. They're made, probably Taiwan or some crap, I don't know. But they're so cheap that there is a chance of them failing, so I always use two of them. Now you see me start draining the cooling system. Trying to change it out, it was pretty much 95 or 90% water. I mean, there's hardly any antifreeze left in it, and he did that for better cooling, plus a little water wetter, of course, for lubricant. What I need to do now is try and get as much of it out of the block as possible. That way I can make sure I get enough antifreeze in here for the winter that it's not going to freeze the block up. So I'm going to undo this and get the cap back on here. And this hose, it goes across over to the other side to part of the radiator, and then it goes up to these air bleeds as well. I need to block off the radiator side of it, so I'm going to use one of these clamps. And then I have to take and blow some air in there in order to blast air into the block to push it all towards the radiator. I'm actually impressed with how little actually came out. Now, in these cars, stock cooling system capacity is 12.6 quarts, so basically 13 quarts, so a little over 3 gallons. I need to put at least 1.5 gallons of straight antifreeze in here in order to prepare it for winter. That's what I'm going to go ahead and do now using this very cool tool that I have. Okay, so that's just a little over 1.5 gallons. Now I can put straight water in for the rest of it. Now I leave just a little bit of a vacuum in there before I completely stop doing this. That way, when I pull this up, I can clean out the hose and still have a little air in the bottle. Now, We also have a little bit of a power steering leak. It may be down at the rack, maybe at the pump. I have to look into that. Now there's a little bit of an oil leak back here, so I'm spraying everything off to try and clean it so that when he brings it back we can look for the oil leak again and see where it's at. Now I looked into this power steering leak and it appears as though it's a return line and maybe a little bit of a pressure line, so I'm going to clean it off as well, throw a little dye in it, and then when he brings it back for spring to get it back on the road again, we're going to check that leak and see where it's coming from. Now if you can see this, right here, this line goes up, and behind this bracket here, there's a hose clamp, and it's leaking down that line, and then also the pressure line here is wet, and they do not contact each other, so I believe both are leaking. Alright, so this is a problem he's had for a little bit of a while. The fuse panel here, he has to leave, I think it's the horn relay or fuse, one of the two, out of the vehicle. Otherwise it just goes off on its own randomly. So what I'm going to do quick today is I'm going to take this box, I'm going to pull it apart, I'm going to take it off the vehicle and take it completely apart, and then see if I can find anything obvious that's wrong. Usually they're just a bunch of little metal strips of connections or wires that are inside here, and it may even be a circuit board, I don't know. I'll pull it apart quick, see what I'm up against, and see if I can fix it. A little piece of steel wool here. So as far as this box goes, we're going to see if we can find a new one. I was unable to separate the two halves. There's two halves there, and they're all wired with those little copper wires you seen in the previous picture. That little piece of steel wool, or that little piece of fiber that was in there, it looked like a piece of steel wool, believe it or not. It was not near any of the horn-related parts of the circuit, but who's to say it didn't move around. I'm not sure, since I couldn't split the halves, if there's any more of that in the half, so we're trying to look for a replacement now. And I'm going to go to another part of the project while we see if we can find a new one of these. But he needs to have this map sensor rewired with proper connectors. Right now it's just crimp style butt connectors. Oh wow. Just came apart just trying to do this, so definitely wasn't going to last very long. No wonder he wasn't comfortable with it. No, I did not do this wiring. That was the customer. He intended on me getting at it, so he just did it temporarily so he can bring it to me. Snug up the headers just to be sure that they stay tight. They're all tight. If you don't have one of these tools and you do engine work, get one of these. These things are awesome. They're only like $40 online. This filter is super clean. There's a little bit of brassy stuff in the filter itself, but I poured the fluid out of the bottom of the can, nice and slow, and there's nothing. I mean, there's absolutely nothing in the bottom, so there's like a couple of specks of dust, and that's about it. Wait a minute. Wow, that threw me off. This racing oil's red?
Yeah.
It is motor oil, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's red.
Yeah, I sent you a picture of that.
Oh.
It didn't come out red, did it?
Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck? Just a little bit of data logging, checking out the startup with the new oxygen sensors. They're working really good right now. Well, you can hear him. He's out there. He's taking off right now. I hope you liked that episode. That was fun. So, with that said, please be sure to like, share, subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, you're still here, so you must have at least enjoyed a little bit of it. And I hope I can see you on another episode, another Friday from now here. Maybe sooner than later, but we'll see. I've been kind of waiting to show you guys this video. This is a rather cool one for me because I was actually able to sit passenger and go for a ride. Usually I'm driving, so I can't record for you guys while I'm driving. I just gotta listen. Yep, that car sounds pretty good. Anyway, so usually I'm driving and I'm unable to, like I said, take you guys for a ride along in the car. And next year I plan on doing several visits of going out doing things. Going to events, going to dynos, going to various different things. And I hope to bring you along for the fun time. A little zip tie trick for you. If you don't want the zip tie to be sharp on the end and cutting your hands or whatever when you're reaching down and things, if you can get at it with the pliers, such as this guy here, you can grab the zip tie right here, and then twist it around to cut it off. Now when you do that, it leaves a dull end. In fact, this edge here wouldn't even be able to catch a nitrile or latex glove. The one in the back here, I can't do anything about it. I can't get at it, so I'll have to cut it with the side snips. There is also a way to cut these with the side snips in order to keep from getting cut, but you have to pull it tight against the part that you're cutting at the base, and then instead of cutting it this way, which is the traditional way, you turn it so you're cutting it across the width. And when you do so, if you can do it without twisting, which is why you need to be able to pull it. Now it leaves a nice dull edge. Well, this is one of those very cool tools that pulls the vacuum on the cooling system so I can suck coolant into it. I need to put at least 1.5 gallons of straight antifreeze in here in order to prepare it for winter, and that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now using this very cool tool that I have. So before you put this thing away while it's still hot, you always want to take and throw a little either water or cleaner. I'm using a cleaner right now and clean this off. It'll make this tip last a lot longer. That rosin or flux, depending on what you're using. Don't use flux on wires, by the way. Rosin will corrode this end over time. Thanks for watching, and I hope I can see you on another episode.